We're live, people. Hello.
We're live. Hello. Hey, everybody. Hey, Simon.
Hey, Josh. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's been a while.
We'll wait a little bit for some people to filter in, as we normally do. I hope if you're watching, you're well. COVID isn't too bad wherever you are. AMA 3. Third day in a row. We've got some good Menti questions. There's a bit of double up from the previous AMAs, but that's okay. And I assume we'll have some more in the chat as well. I'm not sure if this one will be super long, but we'll see. Hi, Michael. Hope you're well. According to my watch, it's midnight in Germany, so thank you for coming, both of you.
That's a late night watch.
It's a superior Casio calculator watch, actually. No one can math as good as I can. Oh, dear.
Oh, wow. You can do the quickest maths.
Exactly, the quickest maths.
Have you actually legitimately used it to calculate anything?
Not once.
It's just a huge flex.
It's just flex, that's all it is. Yeah. Okay, I guess we'll get started. If you do have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat there. Happy to address any questions anyone has. Day 3, if you haven't seen the blog post from a few days ago or any of the 2 previous AMAs, I recommend you go check them out. They'll probably go into a bit more detail. There's some of the more basic information, but for now, we're going to continue to answer community questions that we've received through Menti, and as well as any that you have in the chat in real time as well. So thanks for joining us once again.
Yeah, pretty soon we'll get a fact together as well. So if you do have a question, it's not out yet, but we'll put something together so you can go through and check the fact to see if the question's been answered already. And if not, then always just feel free to ask us and we can answer it.
Do people actually call it a FAQ or is it an FAQ?
Don't know. I call it a FAQ just because it's quicker. You know, as Australians, we do like to shorten things, shorten words. So FAQ.
I don't know if that's just making things up or not, though.
FAQ. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I call it FAQ, though.
Anyway, we're here today with Josh from the marketing team as well to answer any marketing-related questions that do pop up today. We had Kia, myself, first one, just myself yesterday, and now we got myself and Josh. So with that, let's crack into it. Okay, first question. Will Chainflip utilize service nodes at all? No, they won't. Given Chainflip is standing up on its own blockchain, it'll be segregated from the service node network. Chainflip will probably be made available as a Lokinet service, just because you can and why not. But so in that sense, it will use service nodes. But no, the technology itself does not and has never relied on the Loki service node network. Yeah, I hope that answers that question. Will the foundation service nodes receive the airdrop? No, the foundation is already secured an allocation based on the work that it's already done for the new Chainflip token, and therefore will not be eligible to receive tokens in the airdrop to service nodes. Will Simon Key be a part of the Chainflip team? Will it be a completely different team? I will be a part of the Chainflip team. Key is involved at the moment, but what that looks like on an ongoing basis is not yet clear. There's still plenty of work to do around here, and we're all still working out of Melbourne. So it's not clear exactly how that's going to work at the moment, but pretty much everyone that's on the Loki team currently is going to remain on the Oxen team, which is really exciting, and it's something that we're all still going to be involved in. So yeah, there is a lot of change that's coming. I mean, we've been planning this for a little while now, so we've got lots of things in place. And with Chainflip, recruiting has started there so that it can have its own dedicated team. It's just not sucking resources away from Oxen. So it won't be a completely different team. There is a little bit of crossover, but mostly, yes, there will be two largely separate teams with some crossover in limited circumstances. How will the basic tokenomics of Oxen compare to Loki? Same supply. A lot of questions about this. We tried to tweet something about this yesterday to clarify. Nothing changes with Loki. Loki is still Loki. The only thing that changes is the name. Same amount of tokens, same rate of emission, same service third network, same product, same suite. It's Loki Plus, where we're adding some stuff to the platform to make it much more attractive to external developers and be able to attract some new opportunities to the network and get some more products using the stack, which will bring much more users to the project as a whole. So the tokenomics of Oxen are identical to that of Loki because it's the same token. It's just got a name change. I'm trying to think of an equivalent example here.
Like Anshares Neo, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and Nano with Ryblox. So this has been done many times before, and yeah, there is no material difference between Oxen and Loki apart from the brand, the name, and some of the information and the technology stack that we're releasing. So hope that answers the question. Okay, finally, I think we've got a Josh question.
Sweet, lay it on me.
What's the plan? Okay, we just had something in the chat. Is Oxen an abbreviation for something or just a fancy name on its own?
Okay, yeah, we'll go down the Oxen route. So Oxen is originally, lots of people are talking about Oxen in terms of, oxes, but that's not actually how Oxen came into the equation to begin with. It actually came as being the first part of Oxenfree, as in Ollie Ollie Oxenfree, which is just a saying that people say when they're playing hide and seek. But obviously Oxen is the plural of like multiple oxes. And so with that, right, we went down that path, and then an ox is clearly like it's a strong, reliable, sturdy creature. And our Oxen is literally the backbone of all the products that run off it and the technology that runs off it. So in those terms, Oxen was like fitting from that point of view. And on top of that, next year is going to be the year of the ox, and it's going to be a big year for Loki in general, or for Oxen in general. And the ox is literally a bullish creature. It's literally bullish. So that's kind of how Oxen came about, but it's not an acronym for anything at all. But it also didn't start from the actual ox. Actually, one of the biggest reasons why we picked it from a branding point of view as well is that even though people see ox imagery when they think of Oxen, when we actually shopped the name around to a bunch of people, not everyone saw that immediately. A lot of people just saw Oxen as its own unique name. And that's actually that was a really big deal for us, because all the other names we come up with originally had really clear imagery, like clear connotations already attached to people. So with this was a good chance to control the narrative ourselves. Like we can conjure up the branding that we want to, build the story that we want to. We can lean into the oxes as much as we want to. But actually having a clean slate in terms to build from was a real big reason why Oxen was one of the reasons that we went for.
I also think that Oxen, as you pointed out, I guess in your question, it's not immediately clear what it is, and so that gives us an opportunity to really make our own visuals, make our own brand for it. And as I said yesterday, I really do wish that we'd pumped out the branding before we announced that, but given we want to spend a bit of time on that and we wanted to keep the community informed, we just had to come out with the news and make the announcements, because we like to make sure that whatever we're doing, we're keeping the community as up to date as we're able to, given all of the other considerations at play. But Hopefully
sure.
soon we'll start to see some visuals come out for Oxen and then the website itself. Have you guys reserved all websites, trademarks, all that stuff? Yes, we've got oxen.io. That will be the new website URL. And yeah, so we've been trying to claim some of the namespace so we can make sure that we can capitalize on it. But there is currently no competition for Oxen, so it's a clean slate, and that gives me a lot of excitement. The ticker will be Oxen, just so there's no confusion whatsoever. It's just capital OXEN, just like capital Loki. We tried to make Loki have a different ticker, but people just stopped using it. So we ended up just using and it's another 4-letter name. So I think the same thing will likely end up happening anyway. It'll just be Oxen. To be honest, in your defense, you don't want anyone to know the name prior so that they don't. This is exactly right. If it goes to a community vote, then we have to buy all of the domains for all of the options in case someone decides it would be funny to squat on some of the better names. So yeah, name selection is not something that you can do as a community. It's not something we could even do as a whole team. We had to create a little specialist unit that did it themselves. So it is very easy to have far too many cooks in the kitchen when it comes to naming things.
Yeah, it's really hard because also naming's so subjective as well. Like you can't come up with a name that everyone universally loves. Some people are going to love the name, some people are going to hate the name, and they're going to have different reasons for it. So it's tricky. Naming's definitely tricky. It's one of those things that we do a lot because we come up with a lot of products and we have to name them. And it's always a tricky situation when we get down to the naming process.
What is the plan for growing Sessions user base going forward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. Good question. So we have multiple arms going forward with Session. The first one is definitely ASO, App Store Optimization. And it was a huge driver of Session adoption when we initially launched Session. Just putting ads on the App Store grew it exponentially. We got 400,000 downloads, more than that, like in a very short period of time. It got to the point where we were growing faster than we could maintain the app. So we had to stop that because at that point, you're literally just flushing money away. So that's going to be a huge one. It's probably going to be one of the biggest drivers of people downloading Session at the moment when we start to ramp that back up again. The other one is geographical targeting. So Session's obviously big in certain countries. It's got like a big presence in America, as well as Germany, France, Spain. Those countries really resonate with Session. So pushing out to them is going to be a big thing because they're already interested in Session. But then there's other places who, sometimes it's hard to forget if you're living in Australia or you're living in America or any place which has a certain level of freedoms offered to you, because there are other places in the world that just don't have that, and it's hard to conceptualize if you're not living in that situation. And these are places like Iran and Southeast Asia, where an app like Session for them isn't just something that would be nice to have. It's a necessity and sometimes a life or death situation. So geographical targeting will be big because there are areas where people actually genuinely need to use the app. And so we've been building relationships with different NGOs around that space to help us be able to push out there. So, we've got relationships built in Iran and built in some countries in Southeast Asia. So when we actually push out our messaging and our marketing towards Session, they can help us, like, do the people there, do they care more about the fact that there's no account registration when signing up to Session? Or do they care more about the decentralization aspect? Or do they care more about one of the other features that are in Session? So they're able to help us tailor the message to best speak to the people in that country. So geographic targeting is going to be a big one. And then the other one is segments. So there's people that are just more interested in Session than other people. And that's people who need privacy communication. So your journalists, your NGOs, your activists. Segments are the thing that we're always building up and we're always kind of maintaining. And we do that with our NGO relationships. NGOs that are connected to certain activist groups or journalist groups. So it's keeping those relationships, and as session evolves and we push session out more, they push it out to those groups. And unlike ads where we're very removed from the situation, when someone receives an ad and they download session from it, we don't have much contact with them. But with these groups, we're connected. So when they push it out to journalists, we can get feedback on, is this exactly what they want? What are their pain points? And this is something that we've been doing for a long time already, and it's the reason why session's been able to get to the stage where it's at now. It's the constant communication with these groups, telling us what they like and what they don't like. So these are the three main areas that we'll be pushing session out in order to grow session's user base.
Thanks, Josh. I feel like I'm interviewing you now.
Great to be here.
Next question. Is there a long-term plan to implement Oxen into session? Yes, there always has been. But as I said yesterday in yesterday's AMA, the user base is the key thing. With no user base, there is no need to have monetization features, have wallets, any of that sort of thing, because they will generate no revenue for the business. What we need to do is, and for the project, not just the business, because through the monetization systems that feeds into the network. But anyway, we can't just put those features in and expect yields to come in. It's not how it works. There needs to be users there, and in order for there to be users there, the app needs to be reliable, it needs to be featureful, it needs to solve problems for real people, so they actually use the app, spread the word, get others to use it as well. Without that basic part down, there is no point doing any monetization or any of those sort of things. There's no point doing wallet integrations, none of it. So there is a plan to do it. We know exactly how we're going to do it. We're just not going to do it right now because although we have a decent sized team, there is so much to work on. And there is so much improvement that can be made to the app to raise the standard, to raise the bar, so that we can get that adoption. That adoption is really critical. And Josh's plan that he just laid out there is pretty good insight into how that works and what exactly we've been doing and what we plan to do. How did you arrive at the name Oxen? You already got that one, Josh.
Yeah, I think we kind of said that one before. I guess I can go into a little bit more about how we actually do naming in general, or do you think no one cares about that?
No one cares. We came up with a name. That's the important thing. I don't know. You guys tell us if you really want to know more about the naming process. We can get into it. The naming.
Yeah, the nitty gritty.
And everyone
just put it in the chat if you want to know.
You keep mentioning that the Loki brand is holding the project back. Can you explain about how the Oxen brand will be able to grow the project?
Yeah, I can do this. We all love the name Loki. Loki's actually, it's a great name. It's short, it's snappy. It's the Norse god of trickery. We use a lot of tricks to obfuscate transactions. It's also low-key, which sums up the whole privacy aspect nature of everything. Unfortunately, it's also a Marvel, Avengers, Disney character, and that sucks. That's actually, it's probably the biggest drawback about Loki is the fact that when you come around to Google or any big search engine, what they do is they create like a web of relevant information. And Google, in our eyes, in Google's eyes for us, we are not considered relevant. When someone looks up Loki, they're not coming to us. So we'll never be relevant to them. So they're always going to push us back really far, and we're never going to be able to rank when it comes to Loki. And this is huge in terms of friction. It doesn't sound like a lot, but just say you're new to coming to the Loki project. We're all attached to Loki. We all have skin in the game, and we all have emotions around, being a part of this community. But if you don't know Loki and you've just heard about it, and you type in Loki and you can't find what you're looking for immediately, like, you're gone. Like, there's nothing there to keep you pushing forward, and that friction adds up, and it really hinders the amount of natural growth that you can just achieve. So that's a huge limiting factor in Loki, is that we will never be that Loki, the Loki that Google well, the Loki that we want to be. So the thing about Oxen, and this is actually, besides all the reasons in coming up with the Oxen name that I was saying, actually one of the hugest reasons in why we picked it too is the fact that it has a ridiculously easy keyword difficulty. There aren't really any other Oxens out there. And I think some people think when we go from Loki to Oxen, where it's like starting from scratch or getting rid of everything that we had before, but that's not the case at all. What we'll lose when we go from Loki to Oxen is we're going to lose the Loki keyword when people are searching for us, but that's fine because we were never going to win the Loki keyword, but we're still going to retain all the keyword and everything we've built up in terms of privacy, master nodes, service nodes. All our previous existing work is going to transfer across to Oxen when everything gets ported across there. Because I think Loki's already built up I think it's hundreds of thousands of now backlinks. And so all of that's going to move across to Oxen. So when everything eventually gets ported across, it's going to be inevitable for Oxen to just shoot straight up to the top of the list of Google. And when you type in Oxen, will be the first thing you see. So that's going to be huge. That's going to be a huge friction and pain point removed from the name that Oxen can grow past.
I also think that with friction, there is also a lot of friction just with the Loki name in general. Crypto is not that big as far as an industry goes, and people have heard of Loki before in a lot of cases. But the only thing that the wider community really knows about us is that we did an ICO in 2018, and that fact alone is enough for people to just completely discount the project. They spend no time researching it. They don't really want to find out what it's all about, and it is hard for us to really articulate the core of what we do because we have so many things that we do. So this Oxen rebrand is an opportunity to clear up a lot of that stuff, to say, hey, this is new, this is fresh. Come check the website out. We've got a very clear value proposition, very interesting lineup of products that all fit nicely into this narrative. And that's a much easier thing to communicate. And that removes friction to allow people to get to the stage where they can actually do some more in-depth research about the project and become involved. So yeah, I'm excited about it, not just because of the SEO thing. I think the SEO thing is important, but and it does add friction. But for me, I think that the thing that excites me the most about it is that it freshens not just the name and the brand, but also the narrative around the project as well. And I think that is something that we've been needing to see through for quite some time. It really excites me that we can push forward with this, and it is going to take a little bit of time to roll out, but I think a month or so from now we'll really start to see those benefits coming in as that branding changes and as that branding evolves. So I hope that answers the question. The 6 Loki per block set aside for Chainflip, will it be burnt or used as an incentive? Covered this question yesterday. This will be going into the FAQ. It's a common question. It will likely be burnt. I put it to the community that we should decide as a community what we should do with it. But some people and some people in the Loki Foundation as well suggest that we should just unequivocally burn it. And if we do want some new pool of tokens to use for incentives or community funding or anything like that, we can create a new block reward for that specifically and have them be 2 separate things. I think that's probably a good idea. But yeah, this is an open question. And I don't want to make declarations and cut off possibilities if there is interest in it's something other than burning it being done. But yeah, it could be at the moment it looks like it's going to get burnt. But it's an open community question. So please make your opinion heard on that matter, and we'll be depending on what the general vibe is, we will be doing an LRC and seeing getting some formal submissions in from the community to see what the general opinion on that is. But yeah, I don't really think that's too much of an issue. Will you merge more Signal features into Session? No, we are actually cutting as much Signal code out of the Session code base as possible because it's causing lots of issues. We may rewrite the whole, we may cut everything from Signal out apart from the protocol, and even that is up for discussion as well. Do we really need perfect forward secrecy? Do we really need deniable authentication? Because they're they're not strong legally, and they make the whole system much less reliable. So there are a lot of questions around how exactly we go about session, but if one thing is certain, we want to cut as much Signal code out of it as possible. Signal is a very old code base. It's been developed since, I think, 2010 as TechSecure, and it's a big code base with lots of utilities, most of which we don't use, and those of which we do use, we didn't write, and so it's hard for us to really fully understand the interactions there. So we want to cut as much Signal code out of session as possible. We already have cut a lot of session Signal code out of session. But all the UI you see has been completely rewritten. Almost all of it has been completely rewritten. So we don't share any common design with Signal as it is. And yeah, there's a lot of things that we can do to improve the app that actually involve cutting more and more of Signal out of it. I think it was a good decision to piggyback off Signal to get things started. And we've learned a lot about messaging in so doing, and a lot about the Signal protocol and encryption and privacy in general. Yeah, there are some serious limitations to Signal itself. And I mean, Signal users know that it's not a perfect app. So we're building a complicated app on top of an imperfect app. And so, you know, that comes with its own set of challenges. So no, I think we'll be trying to strip out as much of Signal as we can. In terms of features, though, yes, we want to be able to do things like voice calls and, you know, other features that Signal has. We just won't be pulling them from the Signal code base. We'll be writing them specifically for sessions, so it works with the architecture that we have, which is very, very different to that of Signal. Okay, sorry, I'm just going to chat real quick. Build Oxen OS that is just a generic Ubuntu pre-configured with 2 scripts, installable as a service node, and then use has LokiNet session wallet included. I think it's a really good idea. Jason works really hard at making sure that the packages are available for lots of things. Something you might want to check out is Tails. That might be interesting for you, but I think for us, doing specific operating systems, running things as a VM, these are all things that we've previously considered. And it is a matter of, you know, resources in versus reward out. And essentially, you know, maintaining our own operating system is adding to the mountain of things that we already have to maintain. So I don't know if that's something that we'd be doing, but it would be very easy to do. So if you're interested in that, I recommend you go speak to Jaegerman, also known as Jason, as I think he'd be pretty interested in seeing what your thoughts on that are. What else we got? What will be your percentage time and work spent between Oxen and Chainflip? That's a really good question, and it's an open question. It really depends where attention is required. I've already been working on both Chainflip and Oxen, the whole thing, for some months now, and it's been quite manageable at this point. At the moment, I am pulling some very long days, but that is not unusual for startup founders, so it doesn't really faze me. Yeah, I don't know what the final percentage is going to end up looking like. There is a lot of work to do across the board right now. There's a lot of changing strategy. There's a lot of bootstrapping. There's a lot of, you know, stuff that has to occur. So let's just say I don't think I'm going to have a lot of free time for the next couple of months. Probably beyond that as well. And you know what? It is what it is. You know, back in the early days of Loki, that's what it is. That's what it was as well. You know, to make things happen, you have to work hard. And we do work hard. We always have, but sometimes more than usual. And this is one of those times, and it doesn't faze me at all. You know, I've been living and breathing this stuff now for years, and you know, although I'm still a fairly young person, that means I got a lot of energy. So it's a good time to do it. Okay,
but also, you know, like the Loki team / Oxen team here, like we got a really good team going on. Everyone here is really capable, and the team's pretty autonomous as well. So you know, a lot of what Simon does is overseeing what happens here, but practically speaking, Simon doesn't write the code. He doesn't, you know, write the content of certain things. So like it's going to be fine.
If you see it, I have nothing to do with,
Yeah.
all the releases, all the code, most of the blog posts, a lot of the content. I have nothing to do with that stuff. That's all the Loki team, which is awesome.
So you'll still be able to oversee all of that stuff.
And it's a really nice feeling as well to have faith and confidence in the team as well, to be able to just execute, strategies that are put in place, and we put them in place together. There's very few decisions that I make unilaterally. I don't think there's really any decisions that I make unilaterally. Everything is a constant discussion. We're a very, very collaborative, very, very high communication team. And that's produced some really fantastic results as well. I mean, sometimes this can be frustrating, whenever you're working with other people, sometimes you don't get your way, and I don't get my way quite a lot of the time. But that's probably a good thing, more input equals better output. So I think I don't know what else to say on that. Anyway, we can get back to some more questions. Is Session really ready for the mass market? This is a really good question. Maybe Josh, you want to handle it?
Yeah. So in my opinion, is it really ready for the mass market right now? No, I don't think it's ready for the mass market right now, but that doesn't mean it's not ready to be pushed out to people. So when you say mass market, what the mass market needs is they need very low friction. They basically need everything to work exactly how they want it to work. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about mass market. But there are people who care more about how the messages get to the other end than how good the user experience is. So no, Session isn't ready for the mass market, but it is ready to be pushed out to people who really need to use a private messenger, like as I was saying before, journalists, activists, NGOs. These people need the privacy properties that Session provides, and it's at a stable enough state that it's usable for them to do that. And if you've been paying attention to Session recently, if you've been tracking the recent updates, each new update is exponentially better than it was before. Like it's at a really good state at the moment. And that's the reason why now we're having these discussions around marketing it, whereas before we were just playing the waiting game till we could get to this stage.
I've got some other marketing related questions, and I can jump in on these as well. What are the marketing plans around Oxen? What are your biggest competitor projects for Oxen? And someone said, don't market before I finish getting a service note. Yes, Patrick, we will stop everything. We will cease all activity. We will go dead silent so you can buy a service note. How does that sound? And also, there's a question here about the new business development arm. What is it and how will it help? And also NGO partnerships and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of stuff to cover here. I think probably a good place to start would be let's go with the competitor projects for Oxen. This is a really good question. There is a lot of projects out there that are doing similar things in similar sectors, and those similar sectors are onion routing. There is a bit of a play in the decentralized messaging space as well, although pretty limited, and then private currencies as well. And just generally like secure technology stacks. There's like people like libp2p and stuff like that out there that offer, development tools for people to use that operate in the same area. Oxen is a very unique project. There isn't any other stack like it in the world. We're some of the very few people in the world that have actually had the opportunity to work on these problems full time for the last couple of years. So we're really grateful to have been able to do that, and we're super stoked to share the results of that work with the wider development community so we can see some bigger, better, more compelling products integrate our technology into their existing lineup, and that will generate a lot more interest in the project in the long run, I think. So I think in terms of long-term strategy, it's a much stronger play. In the onion routing space, there are a bunch of competitors that are dealing in the crypto space as well. You have Orchid Protocol, you have NIM, you have a couple others. None of them are really at the same level that Lokinet is at, and none of them have quite the same value proposition or have taken as much care as we have with the product, and we were absolutely first to market there. But again, it comes down to the user experience, and because that is something that has been lacking some key features, i.e. exit nodes, we have been not able to really utilize that advantage in a marketing sense because we haven't had that utility. We're likely to release that utility probably early next week, as it turns out now. But that utility exit functionality means that people will be able to access the internet anonymously through LokiNet with not much configuration at all. So this is a huge step for us, and we think it's going to be massive for LokiNet. And of course, LokiNet is also going to get brand new name, brand new brand, and we've got some really cool ideas, and we've already got a website sort of lined up for it, ready to go. We just need to finish those last pieces and put it out there, so that'll be good. So I think in terms of competition for the onion routing space specifically, I think LokiNet is the leader in its class, but it is still a very early space that in terms of Tor competitors. So I definitely think there is a huge amount of opportunity there that has so far not been capitalized on, but in the coming weeks and the coming months, I think that could start to really change. And with the Oxen marketplace coming out with that, I think that'll have some really huge impact as well. So yeah, in terms of messaging, there's been a bunch of crypto projects that have tried to do it. Most of them have given up at this stage. Session is really the only functional example of a highly available app that works pretty reliably, that uses the technology that we're talking about and has the greatest level of protection of any messenger on the market today, I believe. Once the security audit is complete, I think that will give a lot of people a lot more confidence around the app as well. And I think it really puts it not just in a competitive position within the crypto space, but also within the general secure messaging space, which is what it really needs to do. So I'm super excited for that, and I think we'll start to see some excellent results from that soon. There is some issues with Session at the moment. There is a recent slew of new bugs that have appeared in the last week that we are rapidly crushing, as we tend to do. But they're known issues, and those updates will be rolling out very shortly, and we'll make an assessment about when exactly it is the right time to start spending those marketing dollars. But they're ready to go. If you haven't already seen the Session video, I want to sort of demonstrate the sort of investment we're making in the product and how competitive we do really think it is, and why we think it's worth investing in it from a marketing standpoint. Check out the video that we released yesterday. It's awesome. I mean, this is cool for the Oxen community right now, but going forward, this is a tool that we're going to be deploying in tons of places to onboard certain segments into the app. So it's a really powerful tool that we'll be utilizing heavily over the next couple of years. So yeah,
we can drop the link for that video as well in the description of the AMA.
I hope that answers a bit about competition. Just going to quickly check the chat. Can we give suggestions for the LokiNet rebrand? Yeah, absolutely. You can give suggestions. Send them through to Josh. They'll be added to the pool of options. They'll be analyzed for their effectiveness in terms of SEO and domain availability. And they'll go through the same process that all the name selection goes through. So yeah, by all means, do make the suggestion. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, if you have any suggestions for names for LokiNet, just hit me up.
Can you explain a bit about the new business development arm? What is it and how will it help Oxen? Mr. Jessop-Smith, you want to go for this?
Yeah, sweet. So essentially the new business development arm is going to be focused around the foundation primarily. That's not all it's going to be doing, but it's going to be focused on getting people to build on Oxen and build with Oxen, build using the tools and the tech that we make available. So we'll be reaching out to groups, showing them the benefits of Oxen, showing them use cases like LokiNet or whatever LokiNet gets called, like Session, saying, this is what's possible. These are the technologies used in these things. So that's one aspect of it, is bringing people in, bringing developers in to actually build with Oxen. And the other thing is also pushing out. I mean, we already do this a little bit as well. We just haven't had a specific arm when it comes time to building NGO relationships. But there'll be more of a focus on that. Like, for instance, tomorrow we've been invited into this NGO consortium where there's a group of like 5 different NGOs together. And we're talking about how we can all collaborate together, how we can leverage each other's audiences to help, push out our products and help, the journalists or the activists that they use, but also in terms of as a bigger group, as like a consortium of NGOs going for bigger grants in terms of building out their technologies or anything related to that. So it's really positioning the foundation, in a space where we look good, because a lot of the NGO space is word of mouth as well. Like, everyone's very buddy with everyone, and that's how you get your foot in the door and you start to meet everyone and make a name for yourself that way. And then it's also, with a heavy focus on bringing in development to Oxen and making people aware how useful Oxen is for the products that they want to build.
I hope that answers your question. I think the business development arm from my side is a really exciting development that we've put in place, because it's a very flexible part of the business. The basic idea of business development is you reach out to people and see if they want to work together. That's all it really is. And while the NGO side of things is a really powerful thing for session, there's also a lot of business development that we can do just to generally boost the resources available to the team. For instance, building the wrapped Loki bridge, that was something that we did in-house. And there are lots of other coin projects out there that could use a service like that, and it's something that we could help other projects set up and build them to do so. And that extra revenue brings in a lot of capital, which means that we have more money to spend on things like hiring new people, making sure people are being correctly incentivized to do the best work that they can. It also means that we can spend more on marketing. It unlocks a whole range of possibilities. And through this business development, we get access to those deals that we just never invested in before. We have to start being an active company and start seeking opportunities and seeking ways that we can find other products out there that we can let our technology be integrated into and have that feedback into the Oxen ecosystem somehow, through burning mechanisms, monetization schemes. This is all stuff that can be explored. But without that business development arm, none of that would happen anyway. So we have 2 people in our business development arm currently, Lucy and Sam, who've been with us for quite some time now. I don't know how much detail they want me to go into about their personal history, so I won't, to avoid any confusion there, but they are fantastic long-term members of the Loki project that have been immensely useful so far in the work they've already done. And now taking their skills and applying that to the business development side of things, I think is going to have a really huge impact on the outcomes of the project as a whole over the next year or so. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. There has long been mentions of NGO partnerships. Can you name them? If not, is there a reason you are holding back on announcement? No, we can't name them. And the reason is because relationships with NGOs are quite a fragile thing, especially being a crypto project. Some of them are quite wary of us and a little bit more cautious. We're more interested in the long-term outcomes. We're more interested in them using session, promoting session, and that sort of thing, rather than being able to say, oh, these people support us in an announcement and making, some very having short-term benefits for a long-term loss, because we don't want people to get turned off by us because we're utilizing other people's name to promote our own stuff. A lot of people don't take too kindly to that, and we don't pay for partnerships. This isn't 2018. We're not trying to get McDonald's we're not trying to give McDonald's $1 million to put their logo on our website. This is a very different situation, and we have lots of different relationships with lots of different people, and in some of those relationships it just takes time for actual outcomes to pan out, but those relationships are there. When we can announce partnerships will be when we actually have some ratified agreements. The app is being used in certain ways. A lot of background work has already been done, so when you hear names being put out there, that's not for no reason. It's because we've actually done work together, and that's probably the more likely scenario in which we'd be announcing those partnerships. Do you have anything to add on that, Josh, or should we move on to the last couple of questions?
No, it's just that just because we don't say there's any partnerships or we haven't announced any partnerships, also it doesn't mean that there isn't stuff going on with certain groups. We do have really good relationships. If you go to the Loki Foundation website, you'll see some of the people that we're probably have the closest relationships with. But there are people who are utilizing Session and using LokiNet, but it's just not called a partnership yet because, as Simon was saying, like we need something to be really solid before we say anything. But like an example of that is there's this MALS group, the Melbourne Activist Legal Society, and we've been working with them, and they've integrated Session and they've integrated LokiNet into the way they operate. And so that's an example of us working with them and also working out the kinks of our own products while we're working with them. And we haven't announced a partnership, and I wouldn't call it a partnership, but there's definitely movement going on in these spaces, even though there aren't no official partnerships.
Okay, last couple questions. Do you run out of funding at some point if the price of Loki or Oxen keeps staying in these low ranges? Ideally not. We have quite a bit of funding left over. Contrary to what some people are saying, they don't actually have any basis for those claims. We're feeling very confident about our runway situation at the moment. We're looking for new opportunities to raise revenue through other means as well, to supplement things. But to answer the question directly, of course we run out of funding at some point if we don't have any form of income or revenue. So at some point, that has to be addressed, and we are constantly working to manage our treasury correctly and ensure that we can continue funding our operations, not just this year or next year, but for the next 5 years. So Loki, in terms of selling Loki has not been a big part of our revenue raising process at all, at any point in the token's history. We have a much longer term view on the token, and so selling it for short-term benefit to get a little bit of runway when we don't actually have a whole lot of Loki tokens as it is a pretty short-sighted thing to do. So it's not really a major part of our strategy when it comes to funding. We do have a number of assets on hand. We do have quite a bit of cash on hand as well, and with their extra resources available by streamlining things and executing the plan that's been laid out. That greatly extends the runway opportunities for the Oxen team as it is, so we can continue doing the work that we're doing. So I hope that answers that question. I don't think we have any left. Unless anyone's got any last ones to throw in the chat, I think we might wrap it up pretty soon for our third AMA in a row. Let me see if I've missed any here. No, that's all of them. And I think that there are no further questions from the chat. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed this third AMA, and we'll put out another Menti and see if there are any further questions for this week. We might do another one tomorrow, depending on the demand for questions. We will be putting out another blog post shortly with some follow-up details from our original blog post, going into more depth with some of the frequently asked questions that we've had about the new strategy. Thanks once again for your support. Michael Carl said, when will you move to Berlin for some drinks? I'll move to Berlin probably around March is what I'm currently thinking. But with the pandemic on and
good luck.
vaccines rolling out and all that sort of thing, it's very unclear what that's all going to mean. So, I would really like to be there in March, but we will see what the situation is at that time. But I'm ready to roll. So when I'm there, though, let's absolutely do it. We should do a little. Actually, someone floated the idea of an Oxen developer conference yesterday. I think it was Technical Tumbleweed, and that's a really good idea. With the development stack being what it is, it'd be really awesome to have, even if it's just an online one, an opportunity to get together with all the people that have tested, built on, and contributed to the Oxen stack. And as we start to build new partnerships and new relationships and get more people using the technology, I think that could be a really fun activity for everyone. So I would expect that probably around that same time, probably around that March sort of time, we'd be looking to put one of those on as well. So that'll be fun. That'll be really good. So we'll plan on doing that, and I look forward to meeting you in Berlin, Michael. Any final comments, Josh, do you want to throw in before the end, or?
No, just that thanks for being so patient with us and giving us your questions. It's great to answer everything, so you guys know that we're here, we're answering questions. That's kind of it for me. I think I've kind of covered on all the stuff.
I guess
if you do have any other questions, just be sure to send them through to us. Like, even if it's not in an AMA, just chuck it through in the Telegram. We're always open to answering any of the questions that you guys might have.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there has been, a lot of negative reactions to the situation, and I can definitely understand why that is. And it's not an easy set of decisions that have been made. This is a pretty radical departure from our previous strategy, and but we have to keep moving. We have to keep evolving. This industry moves so fast. We've been around for 3 years, so big changes like this are necessary. If you can stick to your guns all you like, but you get left behind very quickly if you're not adapting to an evolving situation. And I understand that that some people are not overly satisfied with the decisions we've had to make, but we have had to make them. There is no other way. There is a lot of detail, obviously, that's got to come out about the specifics of the Chainflip split. There's a lot of more branding materials and all that sort of thing that has to come out with Oxen. And right now, materially, nothing will change. But we do think it's important to keep our community informed about where our head is at, where the strategy is going, and what the decisions that we have to make to keep things going are. As I said yesterday, I have no interest in scaling things down. I have no interest in stopping the work we're doing. I have no interest in cutting any particular product from our lineup because it's taking up too much resources. There are solutions to those problems, and at some point you just have to execute them, and that is what we have to do. So thank you for all the feedback you provided. There's been a lot of discussion in the community over the last few days that has actually informed some more decisions that have allowed the plan to evolve slightly, to give the community the best possible opportunity it can to access whatever it wants to access. And we're being as transparent as we possibly can be on all fronts. We wouldn't be here answering questions 3 days in a row if we didn't care about the community and making sure that people did feel informed. So I hope that we've been able to address a lot of those concerns and a lot of those considerations, and I hope that people will be able to get the exposure that they want. There are a lot of priorities to balance. There is a lot of difficulty in the various aspects of each of the projects. So it's a constant balancing act, and it's not always easy. But thank you to all the people that have come out there and supported the team. I know there are so many of you out there that know us, trust us, support us, and understand what our thinking is and why we're doing it. And there's been a number of calls that I've had in the last few days that have been overwhelmingly positive. So I think there is negativity out there, but it doesn't faze me. This is a short moment in a long history, and it's far from over. So I'm very confident that we have plenty more to give and plenty more opportunity to capitalize on, and it'll be great to see you be a part of that as well. So thanks for joining us, and I will see you in the next one.
See you later, guys.
Ciao for now.